Welcome along to Snetterton, everybody. We're here on the 300 circuit for our second weekend of racing in the Focus Cup Championship, having had a double header at Donington Park, which was 2 races. We've got a double header here, which means we've got 4 races qualifying alongside Lewis Clark, who's been a multiple champion in both diesel and petrol categories. Andrew Mitchell is next up alongside Kevin Taylor-Beebe. Then it's Macaulay Underwood, who has got Neville Voss for company. And then another pit lane starter thereafter, which is going to be Charlie Hall, who I know is also starting for the pit lane alongside Cameron Ferrando Mackenzie. Then it's Jake Critchley and Abby Walton, daughter of Simon Walton, who's further up the grid, before we get to Mark Reed, who has got Matt Croft for company on row number 11. Sarah Hall is next up with Ian Howard, who had electrical gremlins in qualifying. That's why he's a long way down, so watch out for him as he makes his progress through the order. And then it should be Pinky Lazaridou that will be at the back of the grid all the way from France to race with us this weekend. So you can see those cars off to the left hand side of the screen there. Rich Hall at the wheel of a different car to what I was expecting for him, so he has had a change of car and has dropped into one of the spares by the look of thing. And then you can't quite see him, but there is another car just behind, which will be Charlie Hall. So Jonathan Baker starting from pole position. Let's see what he can do. He had a second place in one of the races at Donington Park. He finished just outside of the top 6 in the second of the 2 races. Picked up 15 championship points, which would have been something like 10th position. That would have been for him. There are points for qualifying as well, and the points for qualifying are equal to the points for a race win. So if you qualify on pole, you get 30 points. If you win a race, you get 30 points. So plenty of points available for this weekend when you think that we have 4 races with 30 points and a qualifying session with 30 points as well. Do they have a separate qualifying tomorrow? No, they don't. So yeah, there's a chunk of points available. What's that? 150 points towards the championship available, plus extra points for fastest lap as well. So there are plenty of points available all weekend, and this huge grid of cars getting ready to go. What do we have? Something like 25 cars in qualifying this morning, with more cars for the petrol class in particular being built all of the time. The petrol cars are 5-door ST250s, 300 brake horsepower, running in class 1. The class 2 cars are 3-door Z-Tech 2-litre TDC engine cars, producing about 180 brake horsepower. But all of the cars, whether they be the petrol or the diesel, all built to identical specifications. So if you're racing a petrol car, you're racing identical petrol cars. If you're racing a diesel, you're racing identical diesel cars. And all of the cars are supplied and maintained centrally as well. So it is Swan Flight and the team there, under the ownership of Simon Walton, that prepare and deliver all of these cars to their customers. You pay the fixed fee for the weekend, and you could pick up their accident damage scheme as well if you wish to avoid any accident costs, less the excess, of course. Red lights on the gantry. Red lights go out now, and it looks as though it's a good start from Jonathan Baker from pole position. Ali Topley isn't that slow away, but he's going to have to slot himself into second place as they head up towards Ritchie's for the first time in this first of our 15-minute races of the weekend. So it is John Baker that leads. Ali Topley is there in second position. Ian Mitchell is there in third. Simon Walton is fourth. Craig Appleton slots himself through into fifth position. And for the lead of the diesel engine cars, I think it might be Lewis Clark that's actually got the jump for the lead of the diesel engine class. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It is Adam Winter. Contact further back, I'm afraid, and that is Kevin Taylor-Beebe that has had the rear bumper just been knocked loose on his car. I think there's a little bit of contact between himself and Neville Voss, I'm afraid. Neville Voss was able to continue, as was Kevin Taylor-Beebe, but he's now dragging his rear bumper around behind him at this stage, and that might attract the attention of the officials if it doesn't dislodge itself. So the leading pack of cars heading in towards the braking area for Agostini. Tail end of that leading pack of cars is the man from Milwaukee in the US, which is the 49 car in the hands of Shield Bergstrom. And now the leader there, I thought, made a very small mistake there. John Baker ran a little bit wide coming out of Hamilton, and that almost opened up the door for Ali Topley to squeeze his way through. But he has got sitting right with him the next car behind, which is Ian Mitchell. And then Ian Mitchell has got a very small gap back to Simon Walton. So it's all rather close in the early stages of this one. The car minus the bumper, Kevin Taylor-Beebe, is looking as though he is either heading in towards retirement or has had a spin or wants the rear bumper ripping off. But no, he's going to back the car behind the barriers. And he is, I'm afraid, one of our first retirements out of this race, I'm afraid. The leaders, in the meantime, heading down in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson. 'Twas ever still John Baker leading the way from Ali Topley, from Ian Mitchell. Then a slightly larger gap back to Simon Walton, who sits there in fourth position. But for the pole sitter, John Baker, he qualified in a time of 2 minutes 11.5. He was about 0.4 of a second quicker in qualifying than Ali Topley, who carries the number 1 car proudly as a result of winning the diesel class last year, stepping up to the petrol this year. And in stark contrast, the champion in the petrol class, Lewis Clark, has done the opposite. He's gone back to the diesel class, for which he's 2 times a champion in. So over the start-finish line now come Baker from Topley, Mitchell from Walton, McCann from Appleton, the top 6 at this stage. Simon Langford is there in 7th place. Then it's Shields Bergstrom, followed by Ian Graham. And then for the lead of the diesel class, just going up towards us now, this is going to be the number 4 car in the hands of Adam Winter, but under big pressure from Lewis Clark, who is looking to see whether he can squeeze his way through. Say Lewis won the petrol championship last year, but he won the diesel championship back in 2024 and 2023. So he's a 3 times Focus Cup champion, twice in the diesel class, and last year in the petrol class, going back to the diesels again this year, the number 17 car. But he's having to settle for second best at the moment. Adam Winter leading the way in the diesel category, who had a pretty poor weekend really at Donington Park. And he picked up a single point in the first race and managed 17 points in the second race of the weekend, which would have equated to something like 8th place. So he's keen to get his season properly onto tracks, and at the moment he's leading the way. You see that puff of the particulate smoke from the diesels just shortly as they get on the power, threading their way out of Agostini. Third in the diesels is going to be Andrew Mitchell at the wheel of the YouTube liveried machine, and he is a fair way back from the leading pair at the moment. The leading pair of diesels are running in 10th and 11th place overall. Andrew Mitchell is about 3 3/4 seconds back from them. For the lead of the race though, we've had a change, because Ali Topley has gone through and ahead of John Baker here. So Ali Topley goes through to pick up the lead. His best result at Donington Park was only a 6th place. He had a 6th and I think a 7th in the first race that we had at Donington Park, so he's not featured at the podium spots. He's been quick, don't get me wrong, but he is at the moment leading the way, and John Baker down into second, which was where he finished in the first of the 2 races that we had at Donington. So they thread their way out of Murray's and over the start-finish line. 2 laps completed, 10.5 minutes to go. And as they go through now, what's the relative gap? Ali Topley leads by just under 0.6 of a second from John Baker. New fastest lap of the race to Ali Topley, 2 minutes 12.271. And remember, that also included the overtake to take the lead of the race. For the diesels, it's still as they were, still Adam Winter under big pressure from Lewis Clark. Last time they came over the start-finish line, they were separated by just under 0.4 of a second for the lead of Class 2, the diesel class. This time as they come through, the gap has pretty much doubled. It's almost up to 5.5 of a second. But that's still not a great deal. That still only equates to a couple of full focus lengths, that's all, as they complete lap number 2 and start to head in towards the braking area for the Wilson hairpin. So heavily onto the brakes. Good overtaking opportunity, and there into the pit lane, I'm afraid, has come Rich Hall. Now Rich was originally timetabled and scheduled to be in the petrol class. That was a diesel car that was heading into the pit lane, so I do think he's moved classes as well. And Neville Voss getting together there with Ian Howard, who had those mechanical gremlins in qualifying, and that has lost him a couple of places as well as those two got together. I'm afraid he lost a couple more places there as he tried to regain the momentum. For the lead of the diesel class overall though, through Agostini, still with Adam Winter leading Lewis Clark, who has very much been in his shadow full race so far, but has never quite been close enough. So Adam Winter just doing enough to keep Lewis Clark behind, and if he doesn't make a mistake, Adam Winter, then it's going to be increasingly difficult for Lewis Clark to close up. But there's still the best part of 8 3/4 minutes of this race to go. Down in the petrol class, Simon Walton, the man behind this championship, trying to get himself up into the overall podium if he can, and that would be at the expense of Ian Mitchell, who's done a good chunk of racing in Focus Cup over the years. Last year Simon Walton was not really scoring championship points as he was developing the petrol engine cars further. This year he was saying to me at Donington Park, you know, I'm scoring points this year, I'm going to race, you know, I'm not going to make it easy, I want wins, I'm going to race, I'm going to pick up points. So he's fighting against the customers in reality, and is now jinking himself to the left-hand side of the circuit. That's the outside line of Ian Mitchell as they head up towards Ritchie's corner. Ian Mitchell's got the inside line, nothing Simon Walton can do about it, so he has to settle still for fourth. Can he get the undercut coming out of the corner? No, he can't, because Ian Mitchell is wise to that and just covers it off. So it's still Mitchell in third, Simon Walton in fourth, but then look at everybody ganging up behind again all of a sudden, because what you've got is Mark McCann beginning to close in. Mark McCann is bringing with him Craig Appleton, and Craig Appleton has got Simon Langford for company. So they're all fighting over now. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh places have pretty much got themselves together, and it's the front two that are getting away, with Ali Topley leading, but last time through in second place, new fastest lap of the race to John Baker, 2 minutes 5.843. So for the moment he picks up the extra 5 championship points that go with the fastest lap. So it's a great battle for second place. Simon Walton this time got the upper hand on Ian Mitchell. Yes, he has, as they head through Hamilton. Simon Walton moves his way up into third place. Ian Mitchell drops down into fourth. Now needs to close the door on the car behind, which is Mark McCann, and looks as though Mark McCann is going to go through. And now that the door is open, Craig Appleton goes through, Simon Langford goes through. So has Ian Mitchell got a problem, because he seemed to lose several places there and didn't put up quite as much defence as otherwise you would think. So Simon Walton up to third, everybody else picking up a place as well. And right to the back of that train now has got poor old Ian Mitchell, who qualified third, and he's fallen away actually from the cars that have gone through, so I do wonder if there's a small issue with his car. He's just trying to work his way around at the moment. Simon Walton, having gained a place, might lose one again here, because Mark McCann is trying to wiggle his way through. They compromise both of their speeds, and now Craig Appleton is going to make it 3 wide, almost heading in towards Coram. Thought better of it, backed back out of it, and they actually all remain in the same order. So it's still Simon Walton from Mark McCann and Craig Appleton, but Craig Appleton is under attack from Simon Langford, who brakes really late at the wheel of the ABS car, and I think there was almost a rub between the pair of them, himself and Craig Appleton. They slow each other up on the exit of the corner. Craig Appleton still hangs on to the place, and as they go through and over the start-finish line, Appleton is there in fifth, Simon Langford in sixth place, and Ian Mitchell, who lost all of the places, is there in seventh, but has still got pressure behind him, because that is Shields Bergstrom now that's behind him, the American, at the wheel of the 49 car. New fastest lap of the race that time through for Ali Topley, the race leader, 2 minutes 11.753. So they're only about 2/10 shy of the times that they were setting in qualifying this morning. So despite the fact that it's later on in the day, it's still cold. There hasn't been that much change in the temperature, but times are already down to the kinds of times that they were doing in qualifying, which is impressive stuff from these drivers. Leading two having gone through Agostini. There goes Simon Walton in third. Craig Appleton outbraked himself a little bit there at the wheel of the Centaur surfacing car, and that's allowed Simon Langford to go through, and I think will gain the place by the time they get towards Hamilton. Yeah, he's got the inside line, so he does go through. Be careful not to run wide on the exit, and he's got the job done. So for the moment, Simon Langford up into fifth, and I'm afraid there is a problem, and recovering from what looked like a half spin is the number 55 car, which is Matt Croft. So he gathers up the moment. Qualified, I think, something like 22nd overall, and there is poor old Ian Howard, whose awful weekend continues. That's an off at Ritchie's corner. So he had terrible electrical gremlins in qualifying. The family are all egging him on back home, but poor old Ian Howard, who's actually being driver tutored and by Paul O'Neill this weekend, has had a difficult day so far. Had worked his way up through the order. That will drop him right the way back down again, I'm afraid. 4 minutes to go. Topley leading by a second now from John Baker. So last time through set the fastest lap of the race. What can he do this time through? You don't have to worry about this great fight still going on for third and for fourth between Simon Walton and Mark McCann. They're just threading their way over the start-finish line. And then the leaders already having gone through onto what will be their sixth lap of the race with 3.5 minutes remaining. So Simon Walton still in third, Mark McCann in fourth, Craig Appleton still in fifth for the lead of the diesel class. Still going the way of Adam Winter, but since last time we picked up on it, it does look as though Lewis Clark has just fallen away an extra couple of car lengths by the look of things. Yeah, he's not quite close, is he? He was within touching distance before. He's just that little bit further away now, so it does look as though we might have Adam Winter heading towards a win in the diesel class, for which Andrew Mitchell claimed both of the wins at Donington Park last time out. Andrew is down in third, I think, in the diesel class last time we picked up on it. Yes, he is. So it's not going to be 3 out of 3 for him. And if Ali Topley hangs on to the win, that would mean we're going to have 3 different winners out of 3 races in the petrol class, actually, because Ian Mitchell won the first race at Donington Park, Mark McCann won the second, and at the moment Ali Topley or John Baker, because he's not that far away still, could be on for the win in this one. So it certainly looks like it's going to be 3 different winners out of 3 in petrol class 1. Simon Walton's still the cork in the bottle. He's there in third place, the final podium spot for the number 2 car, the man behind the championship. He's got the customers queuing up behind, Mark McCann, then Craig Appleton, then Simon Langford. Craig Appleton has found his way back through and ahead of Simon Langford on this lap, because Appleton was just behind as they came over the start-finish line. Also might be a little bit of traffic as well just up the road that they possibly have to deal with, and I think that will be Rich Hall, who we saw go into the pit lane, but it does look as though number 99 is back out and circulating again. They'll be heading on to what should be their final lap of the race this time through, so great fight for second, third, fourth and fifth. As for the lead of the race, Ali Topley leading, the number 10 car John Baker in second. There was 1.3 seconds between the pair of them as they came over the start-finish line, and this time as they come over the start-finish line to start the last lap of the race, there goes Ali Topley, there goes John Baker, and the gap is almost up to 1.485 seconds now is the gap first to second place. So Ali Topley seems to have everything under control at the moment. There will be some traffic up the road though, which is one of the diesel cars, so it will get caught, such is the performance difference between the 300 brake horsepower diesels and the 180 brake horsepower petrols. And that car will be Matt Croft, I think, that they are going to catch on this last lap. And that offers up some hope for John Baker that he might be able to maybe claim his first win of the season. But Ali Topley looking as though he's got everything under control. And in the diesels, certainly looking as though he's got everything under control, is Adam Winter, who still continues to lead Lewis Clark. But I think to the naked eye that gap has come down very slightly this time through. Last time it was 1.3 seconds between the pair of them. They matched each other for pace. They're both in the 2-minute 24.0 second bracket. Lewis Clark was about 88 thousandths of a second slower in the number 17 car than Adam Winter last time through. But to the naked eye, towards the end of this lap, I think that gap has come down very slightly. It was 1.3, yeah, it's down to 0.9. So the gap is coming down between the pair of them. Spin there for Craig Appleton, that was down, all right, and Mark McCann, so those two may well have had an issue where they've come together, as Craig Appleton and Mark McCann were 4th and 5th respectively. Appleton has kept going, but Mark McCann's stricken at the side of the circuit, so that's changed that little squabble that we were having. And it does mean that Simon Walton probably is now pretty much the man behind the championship, secure in third place, because here comes Ali Topley in the lead of the race, looking for his first win of the season. Say his best result at Donington Park was 6th position, the man who stepped up from the diesel championship class last year, where he won overall, into the petrol class for this year, and at the wheel of the Power Max livery machine. He is on course for a win in round 3, which makes it 3 different winners out of the 3 races overall in 2026 for the Focus Cup Championship. He comes through to claim the win. The clock has ticked to 0, the checkered flag is out, and Ali Topley is a race winner this year. He wins round 3 of the 2026 Focus Cup Championship and looks rather pleased with that. John Baker comes through to finish in 2nd position, and it should be Simon Walton, the man behind the championship, that comes through to finish in 3rd position. As for the diesel class, well, they're just threading their way out of Williams and onto the Bentley straight for the final time. Lewis Clark has thrown everything at it to try and close the gap on Adam Winter, but I do think he's just going to come up a little bit short unless Adam can finally have a chink in his armour, because he's not put a wheel wrong so far in this race, and he's just now working his way up towards Brundle and Nelson for the final time. Onto the brakes, in towards the left-hander and the right-hander. We've got waved yellow flags there, which suggests that something has happened, so there's no overtaking there. Somebody has gone off down through Brundle and Nelson. A green flag at the marshal's post on the exit of the corner tells you that it is just out of sight, that particular car, and I think it may well be possibly one of the cars that was involved in that incident up at may be Agostini that has limped round. Craig Appleton has actually taken the checkered flag, so it's certainly not him. But in towards the braking area for Murray's for the final time. Lewis Clark has closed up again on this lap, so the gap was down to 0.9 of a second. He was quick going in towards Murray's, but I think he was a little bit slower coming out as a result, so it looks as though it is going to be a win for Adam Winter, who claims not just his first top six or his first podium of the year, but his first win of the year in the diesel class. He comes through to claim the win, and he'll be very pleased indeed with that particular one, finishing in 9th overall actually as the first of the diesels home, with Lewis Clark 10th overall. And then I think the third of the diesels home just comes through now, and that is going to be Andrew Mitchell, who was a double race winner in diesels at Donington Park. Still a few more cars to take the checkered flag, which are the cars that remain still just about on the lead lap. One car that did not come through, which I think did get going again down at Agostini, but maybe that was what had retired down at Brundle and Nelson. Mark McCann sadly is looking as though he is tumbling down through the order and is not going to see the checkered flag, whatever happened to himself. I know he is still there, he's still stricken there and out of the car, I'm afraid, at Agostini. So what the yellow flags were down through Brundle and Nelson, I simply don't know. The car was out of shot. So Ali Topley claims the win. He'll be absolutely delighted with that, and of course he's going to have a busy day tomorrow, because we've got another race for the Focus Cup coming up quite early in the morning, around about 10:10 in the morning. They'll have their second race of the weekend, and then they'll be back out again around about 2:45 in the afternoon, and about 5:30 tomorrow. So they've got 3 races to look forward to tomorrow. Let's just confirm some results for you then for the third race of the season for the Focus Cup Championship here at Snetterton. Ali Topley claims the win from John Baker in 2nd place, and Simon Walton, the man behind the championship, finishes in 3rd place. Simon Langford was 4th, ahead of Shields Bergstrom, who finished in 5th place, and Craig Appleton finished in 6th place. Ian Mitchell was 7th, ahead of Ian Graham, who was there in 8th place, and 9th and 10th were the first of the 2 diesels home. It was a win in the diesel class for Adam Winter from Lewis Clark, as they finished 9th and 10th respectively. Completing the diesel podium was Andrew Mitchell. Then it was Neville Voss who was next up, before we then see the car of Jake Critchley, followed by Mark Reed, and then it was going to be Charlie Hall, who started from the pit lane. Ian Howard was in 17th place. Cameron Ferrado Mackenzie was next up. Then it was Mark McCann, who I don't think saw the checkered flag, so classified 19th, but might not appear in the final results, I'm afraid to say. And completing the top 20 was Matt Croft, who had a spin along the way. And there you can see the remaining cars that finished just outside of the top 20, including that retirement early on for Kevin Taylor Beebe. So that's it for today from the Focus Cup. We've got more racing coming up for you tomorrow. 3 races to look forward to, the first of which will take place around about 10:10 in the morning. So from everybody here at Snetterton and the Focus Cup Championship, thanks for joining us for our single race today, but we'll see you for 3 more tomorrow. Goodbye.